All right, today we're jumping into what is basically an incredible historical detective story. Seriously, we're going to solve a 600-year-old mystery and figure out how one of the world's greatest ancient universities, a place that was a beacon of knowledge for almost 1,000 years, was literally found again after being totally lost to time. Just think about that for a second. For 600 years, this massively important place was just known by the local people as Baragaon, which basically means the big village. Its real identity, its incredible past, was just gone, buried under dirt and time. And that, right there, is where our investigation begins. So let's set the stage, right? We're going to treat these ruins as our scene of the crime. The victim here? Well, it's the memory of a legendary university. And the crime? Being completely and utterly forgotten. And here's the wild part. It wasn't hidden away in some super remote jungle or anything. Nope. It was right there. A bunch of brick mounds that people lived right next to for centuries. And they had no clue about the amazing history that was literally just beneath their feet. So the challenge was huge. I mean, how do you even begin to identify a place that's forgotten its own name? You know, every good mystery needs that first clue, and it's almost always found by some accidental witness. And in our story, that witness was a surveyor who just kind of stumbled onto the scene, not realizing at all what he was looking at. So this guy, Francis Buchanan Hamilton, is out doing a survey mission back in 1811. He sees this huge brick mound at Badagon, notes some sculptures, and, being a good surveyor, he records it all in his journal. He was the first official to actually document the evidence, but the name Nalanda, not a word about it in his report. So the clue was there, it was logged, but for decades, the case went completely cold. Okay, so the big break in the case didn't come from anywhere in India, not at all. It came from thousands of miles away, from an ancient book that had been saved in China. This was, without a doubt, the treasure map everybody had been waiting for, even if they didn't know it. Way back in the 7th century, there was a Chinese monk named Xuanzang. He actually studied at Nalanda for 5 whole years, and lucky for us, he wrote everything down. When his work finally got translated in the 1840s, it was like finding a blueprint from the past. He gave specific distances from other cities we knew, like Bodh Gaya and Rajgir, and he described the layout in crazy detail. 6 monasteries, a huge temple, and a wall surrounding the whole thing. This wasn't just a story, it was a set of verifiable coordinates. So, with a map now in hand, our investigation needed a lead detective, right? Someone who could take these ancient clues from a Chinese book and actually apply them to the real-world landscape of 19th century India. And that person was Alexander Cunningham. Cunningham, who actually founded the Archaeological Survey of India, he gets his hands on Xuanzang's translated account and heads straight for Badagon in 1861. He starts methodically measuring the distances, surveying the mounds. He's basically matching the 7th century description to the 19th century ruins right in front of him. He was connecting the dots. And sure enough, after his survey, Cunningham rates in his official report that the location of Badagon is a perfect match for what Xuanzang had described. He was so confident, he even pointed to the biggest mound and said, "That's got to be the main temple the monk talked about." The circumstantial evidence? It was becoming seriously overwhelming. But look, Cunningham had a brilliant theory, and it was backed up by some really strong geographical evidence. But in any investigation, that's just not enough, is it? You need irrefutable proof. You need the smoking gun. How could he prove, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that this place really was Nalanda? Well, the final proof wasn't going to come from a book or a map. It had to come from the earth itself. It was finally time to start digging. So between 1915 and 1937, archaeologists began systematic excavations at the site. And deep within the old monastery cells, they found it. They found the one thing that could close this case for good. The final, undeniable proof was made of baked clay. This is it. This is the smoking gun. What they dug up were hundreds of these clay seals, which were basically the official stamps used by the monastery. And stamped on them, in the ancient script, was this exact phrase, "of the venerable community of monks of the great monastery of Nalanda." I mean, come on, there was no more doubt. Badagon was Nalanda. Case closed. So you can really see the 4 key steps that made this whole rediscovery happen. First, you've got Buchanan, who just stumbles upon the scene. Then, the translation of Xuanzang's journal gives them the map. Cunningham uses that map to make the positive ID. And finally, the excavation digs up the physical proof. You take away any one of those steps, and the mystery might have never been solved. And here they are, our key players. You have Buchanan, the accidental witness; Xuanzang, the ancient mapmaker from centuries ago; Cunningham, our brilliant detective; and of course, the archaeologists who literally dug up the final clinching evidence. It took all of them, across centuries, to solve this puzzle. And just like that, what was once just mounds of brick called Baragaon got its name back, and its incredible history was restored to the world. And this was so much more than just finding some old ruins. It was about resurrecting a legendary, global center of knowledge from the dust. So, we've closed the case on the rediscovery of Nalanda. But you know how these things go? Solving one mystery often opens up a brand new one. Nalanda was famous for its colossal library. Now, we know the university was destroyed, but did all of that knowledge really just turn to ash? Or did some of its books, some of its incredible ideas, somehow survive? Well, that's a mystery for another time.